So welcome to another video with Inside the Academy, and on this particular video we are going to build a custom multi-select FlutterFlow component. Now what does that mean? Well, chances are inside your FlutterFlow applications you are going to want to provide your users the ability to choose one or more options. Now using the power of callbacks in this custom component, we can then grab hold of those values that are produced and then use those elsewhere within inside our project. So if you are learning FlutterFlow as a platform, there is a lot of technique that's here that you're definitely going to be able to reuse across your projects. So without further ado, let's get into the video and let's get cracking. Okay, if you are learning FlutterFlow, then this is the video for you, because a lot of what we're going to cover in this particular video is very, very transferable to your own projects. So what are we going to cover then? We're going to create a component, a custom built component that's going to be available to us as part of a kind of a custom dialog. And what we're going to do is we're going to select a number of items within inside that particular component, and we're going to then pass those back then to the parent page. Now, why would that be important? Well, for example, if you are calling out to a third-party API or something like that where you need to pass these IDs through via the API, then this will allow you to do that as well. So very much follow along if you are looking to learn those particular techniques. So we've got two buttons on screen at the moment, one called Select Fruits by ID, which does exactly that. Each one that we select, we're going to pass those IDs back to our parent page. There's another option on here called Select Fruits by Fruit, and that is a series of custom data types you can also then pass back to the parent page. Now that particular example, if you would like that, that's in the Academy, so please go and check that out. But we're going to cover the first one here, Select Fruits by ID, and if I just select this, you can see now that we've kind of got this little pop-up kind of component that appears here, and I can choose maybe the kiwi, and I can choose maybe the lemon. It might be that actually I don't want the lemon, I might want to just choose the orange, but I still got the kiwi one selected. I hit Confirm Fruits, and those values are then passed back to the parent page using the powerful callback feature within inside FlutterFlow. So that is what we're going to build. Please do check the link in the description, because the clonable project is there if you're looking to follow along. Just like all of my videos, we'll walk through step by step where we'll build the look and feel of the component, and then we'll add the functionality in to do kind of the main part of what we're looking to demonstrate in this particular video. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Okay, so as with most of my videos, I like to have a little bit of a walkthrough on the setup of the sample project, the one that you're going to clone to walk through this particular video, just to kind of set the scene, because I've done some little bit of pre-work for this particular video, so it saves it going back too far to the beginning. I like to start from a more interesting point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate to you the kind of the data types that I've currently created. So I've got one called here called fruit. Now this data type has got an ID, it's got the name of the fruit, and it's also got the photo URL. So that's kind of like the schema setup. Now inside the application state values section, you can see here that we've kind of got this field name here called fruit. Now this is a list of those fruits that I showed earlier on. So if you've never sort of set these sort of things up previously, what I've done here for this particular sample, I've kind of like preloaded this application up with free fruits that you've kind of seen inside that particular sample. And the way that you do that is you kind of add an app state variable. Let's just call this one list here, go to data type here, move down to the data type option here, choose the fruit, and then say that it's a list, hit create, and of course here you can see it's just here, I've got it just up here, and of course you can come down here, you can add the items in just as I've done here. You can see here I've got one that's got an ID of 1, and then you've got the lemon, and I've got a photo URL that I've posted in here from my asset library. Hit cancel. I've done the same thing as well. I've got one here of 2 for orange, and another one there, and of course the kiwi is here as well, number 3 kiwi, and then it's got the link to the URL. So that's kind of just that there. I can just delete this one out, I'm not really interested in that. So that's how that application state variable is set up. And of course is dark mode there is really just to kind of track with inside the application whether we're in dark mode or light mode. If you just click on the little logo with inside the application, it will quickly toggle it to light mode for you. So that's pretty well much the setup. Now with inside the actual project itself, we've got the home page, we've got one page in this particular project. We've got a component here with just the logo, we're not worried about that. We're going to create a brand new one at the moment, and then pretty well much there's nothing else happening. The buttons don't do anything or anything like that, and we're going to now move into the next part of this particular video where we're going to start building the actual component itself to show those fruits that I've just shown you with inside the application state variable. So without further ado, let's move on to that bit now. Okay, so let's start by creating our component. So I'm going to right click on the components here, choose add component, and we're going to choose create blank. Let's give our component a name. Set fruits by ID component, hit create component, and now of course we're into our blank canvas area. So let's add our first container. So choose container here. Now the container is going to be quite important to us. I'm just going to give this a name up here. It's going to be called page container. It's going to be quite important to us because it's going to kind of be the wrapper for everything else that's going to be in there, okay? But it's not really going to have any sort of style properties or anything like that. So let's remove all of that out. We're going to get rid of the width. We're going to get rid of the height. We're going to get rid of the fill color here. So just select that and choose the eyedropper and clear the color. So that's now completely empty. Now with inside that, we now need to create some more widgets. So hit the plus. We're going to first choose a stack, and the stack's going to be super important to us very soon because we're going to overlay widgets on top of each other. So hold that thought for now and we'll come back to that. Choose the plus. Let's add a brand new container. Now this will have some visual style into it. Of course, the container is going to kind of contain all of our selectable fruits. So just give this one a name. Selection container like that. Let's give it also some properties here. So on the bottom right hand corner, let's choose some width there. So 320. We're going to give our height a height of 200. Now we're going to keep the secondary background color. That's nice. We're going to choose some border radius. We're going to want to curve the edges of our our borders there. So let's just give this a setting of 16 here. That will just bring it in from the sides. And I think we are good there with all of the styling for that. If I just click away, you can probably just see now those kind of curved edges there. Just going to bring this out just slightly like that. Right. So next up, inside our container. In fact, what we'll do, we'll come and do the widgets actually inside the container very, very shortly. Let's now apply where the stack is going to be really important to us. So we're going to hit the plus on the stack. We're going to choose another container. And I'm just going to call this one up here arrow container like that. And this one is also gonna we're gonna just change the width and the height actually here. So this is gonna have a height, a width of 20, and this is gonna have a height of 20 like that. Now with inside this particular container, we're now going to put an icon. So this little icon is going to be the little triangle that kind of sits in the middle at the top. If you remember back to the sample, we had this little this kind of little arrow that's kind of pointing into the button that we actually selected. So just choose icon. And let's actually select some properties of our icon. So we're going to give our, we're going to look for, say, something like arrow. Let's see what we've got here. We need a nice thick arrow that's going to work for us. There we go. That one's looking pretty good. So we can grab hold of that. It's pointing in the wrong direction, but we'll get that one sorted. Let's give our icon a name. I'm just going to call this one arrow icon. And with our stack, of course, now at the moment you can see these are kind of like overlaid on top of each other at the moment. You can't quite see that because in fact, you can just see now that the icon is top left here, but if I choose the actual stack here and I now put the child define alignment, then what that'll do, that means that everything that's inside that stack will be aligned centrally at the top here. But it's not going to be where we want to position. We want to kind of bring down our actual kind of our actual container is going to contain all of our widgets, but put the arrow at the top. So what we need to do is we need to go to the selection container. What I can do is I can give this some padding from the top. So just choose maybe something like 12 and it drops down like that. Now what we can do with our arrow, of course, is pointing in the kind of the wrong direction. So what we can do is we can wrap a transform around it to kind of twist our icon to be in the right direction. So if we just right click on the arrow, we can say wrap widget and we're going to choose a transform. So if I just select transform there, now it's going to have no visual properties at all. But what we can do, we can set the details on the right hand side. You've got the transform type here by default is rotate. Now the rotation here, I can move this slider up here and I can set the value I want, but I know that I'm going to want about 270 because I want to turn it into 3 different or times 3 orientations. So if I just choose 270 there, you can now see that the icon is now positioned nicely at the top. But we've got some visual properties that we need to sort out. So we want to remove the fill color out of here. So if I just select this and say on the eyedropper and say clear color like that, then you can see now that our icon is sort of pointing right there at the top. So we want to give our icon the same color as the secondary background color. So just with that, also with this one selected here, the secondary text, choose secondary background color, and then you'll see now it's now going to be in keeping. So if I now just choose between white, you can see now that's pretty good. I think we just want to kind of set some properties though of our container perhaps. I think we just need to drop it down a little bit. So let's just choose maybe 4 on here. Let's just drop that down and you can see now it's got a very subtle kind of arrow pointing up there. Okay, so we're ready now to move on to the next section where we're going to start populating this particular component with its child widget. So I'm just going to select this back to the dark mode and let's move into that section now. Okay then, so let's now work on our selection container. So press the plus on the selection container, and what we're going to add in here is a column because we're going to kind of want to vertically kind of stack all of the children widgets. So with the column selected, hit the plus here. Let's add some rows in. So I'm going to do one row first, and then I'm going to add another row in. So the rows at the top here is going to represent the actual fruits that we're selecting, and the row just below that is going to contain the selectable options that we've got at the bottom. I'm just going to quickly rename these. Okay, so they're now renamed. With the page column, we're going to want to provide some kind of padding here. So we're going to put 24 from the left, 24 from the right. And with our page column selected, we're going to want to do some spacing as well. So this all applies to everything that's actually within inside this particular column. So we're going to space everything out by 16 pixels. And we're going to want to also shift down from the top and kind of just make sure we bring up from the bottom as well. So with a start space and put 16 in here, and with the end space and also bring in 16 as well. So I highly encourage that when you're kind of building your applications with inside your column to use spacing to your advantage there, instead of keep padding everything out with paddings on the actual widgets. Try to do them on the actual columns itself. It will just make it so much more uniform across your user interface. Okay, next up, let's now work on the fruit select row. This is the area that kind of has the little check mark to indicate that we've got a fruit selected. It's got the circle image and then the text itself. And of course, there's a container in there as well. So with the fruit select row selected, hit the plus. And the first one they're going to add in is the stack itself, so we can overlay these widgets very shortly. Now with the stack, hit the plus, and then we're going to put a container in there first. That's going to be the kind of the wrapper. And then with inside the actual container itself, we now need to put a vertical column because we're obviously going to have the avatar first, sorry, not the avatar, the circle image of the actual fruit itself. Hit the plus and just do a little search for circle image like that. And then with inside that column, hit plus again and choose text. Now that's all there. With the circle image we've selected, we want to just reduce the size of that. It's a little bit large. So on the diameter on the right hand side, just choose 40 just to bring that down. I'm just going to quickly rename all of these widgets here. Okay, that's all those renamed now. Now, with inside the fruit column itself, let's just space out a little bit of the actual widgets itself. So there we go. That's now selected. And with the with everything there selected, we just need to collapse down the container. Let's add the next sort of icon indicator in on here. So just choose a plus here, and we're just going to look for an icon. So just choose icon, and you'll see it's floating to the right at the moment. Let's just go here and just change the icon itself. So we're going to look for like a check here. I think the first one will be fine with that selected. Just choose the secondary text and just choose the tertiary color here. And we just want to reduce this down also as well to 20. That's a little bit big. So with the stack selected, of course, we now need to align the children. So just here, we just choose on the right hand side there. That's now moved over. Now with the icon selected, we now want to just put a little bit of padding as well. So I'm just going to do a top padding here of 4 and the right 4 like that. We'll just bring it over slightly. That's all that's needed. So I'm just going to quickly rename these. Okay, so just with the page column now, let's just center everything that we want. So I want to choose a little center option there. We're just going to bring it down just slightly there. And then now we're just going to work now on the options row. So just hit the plus. Now we're going to add some buttons in here. So just do a search for button. There's the first one. Let's just plus here. Let's just choose another one. Pop that in there. Now with the first button here on the right hand side, let's just give this a name of a cancel here. And on the second one here, let's just call this one confirm fruits or something like that. That's fine. So with the button, let's just quickly rename these. Okay, so they're all renamed. Let's go back to the cancel button. Let's now sort of just work on some properties here. Let's just drop the font size in down here to, in fact, let's just change the title here to then maybe title medium. Just give it a slightly grayed out text here. Drop the font size down to 14. And let's just work on then the actual fill color itself. So let's just select that. Oh, just select the fill color here and just say primary background like that. So just a slight subtle difference there between the one that we've kind of got there as the background and this one here. And then on the selected fruit button, I think we just need to give it some property changes here. So with the actual elevation, we're just going to choose that as 0. So this just kind of removes any kind of look of any kind of like shadowing or anything like that that's actually on the button. Let's remove the border width here. Just change the size here to 150 like that. And then on the cancel button as well, we're just going to reduce this. We're going to actually set the size here to be 100. And then what I'm also going to do on the options row is I'm just going to kind of push everything out. I'm going to space everything out here. So I'm going to choose this option here, which is called space between. So you can see here, we've only got 2 widgets here. So the space in here, if this was really wide, for example, then of course that space in the middle here would kind of just stretch out and push everything to the left and to the right. So that's that. So I think I've just need to sort out this particular container here. So with the fruit container selected, let's just give this then some color. It's just looking like it's not quite got the color we need. So just choose fill color here and choose the primary background again. It's just going to then sort of separate it slightly. Now what we also need to do is we need to set the inside here, the actual fruit column here. We're just now going to center everything up a little bit more like that. There we go. Now that's there. We're just with the fruit select row here. Let's just get ourselves ready for very shortly to put an item spacing of 16 because there's going to be more than one of these obviously, and we've got now a nice space now in between. So that is kind of, I think, everything for now. There's it's not obviously going to do a lot. Oh, in fact, we just missed actually the fruit container here. We need to put some rounded borders on here as well. So let's just choose that. Let's move this up to 8. And that might just give us a little bit more of a curved edge there. There we go. We've got a nice sort of curved edge now on our container. So that's looking pretty good. Let's now move on to the next bit. Okay, so next up, before we move any further and start getting a bit more involved in the functionality of our component, let's make an update to the home page to show the actual component on the UI. So with the select fruits button selected, move over to the action flow editor, just choose the actions option, open up that, hit the add action, and we just want to look for one called alert like that. Now I'm going to choose custom dialog here because that's what it is. I'm going to select the component that we've created. So choose the select fruits by ID like that. Now the width, I'm just going to set this now as 320 by 216. Now if you recall, that is the container size of the primary container within inside the actual component itself. So I always like to make sure that by default that I just set them to that particular height. Now there might need to be some further adjustments needed, but it's a good starting point when you're working like this. So with the dialog alignment here, we're just going to set this to be the top here. Otherwise, if I don't select that, then the actual component will completely overlay the button. So that's a good start there by setting the position to the top there, and then align with target. So of course the target, this being the actual button itself, we're going to set this right at the bottom. So we're going to position this right at the bottom there. That's all that we need to do. So now that's all in place. So we just close that down. That's all set up. Let's quickly fire this up in test mode and let's see what happens. Okay, so here we are in test mode. Hit this select fruits by ID, and there we go. It looks like it's displaying quite nicely for us there. I can just quickly hit on the, if I just close that down there, if I just click away there, hit the Nocode Academy icon there, and if I just select this here, you can now see a little bit more easier in obviously the light mode theme there. You can see I've got a little bit of elevation there. This I must have inadvertently left on the actual button. I can go back and literally set that to 0 and get rid of that. But other than that, everything's looking quite nice for us, and we can now move forward with this episode. Okay, so that's pretty well much most of the main sort of UI bits that we need to do in this particular example. If you would like to kind of get hold of the full project that contains a little bit more polish on the UI, such as kind of animations and all that kind of stuff, feel free to take a look. Let's now get ourselves more into the more functional part of this particular component. So firstly, let's talk about one of the features that this component supports. So obviously we know that when we press the button, the dialog kind of gets displayed. We can then choose which fruits that we would like. The values are then passed back to our page. Now what we do is we're storing on our page which ones have actually been selected. But what we might want to do is pass that selected list back in again, allow the user to then make additional choices or change what they've already selected. Now to support that, we need to do a couple of different things. We need to create a component parameter to pass in those IDs, which we're going to do now. And then once we've got that component parameter value, we then need to store within inside the component itself the selected IDs, and then we can then update them, and then we can send those back out to the actual page itself. So the way that we do that is at the very top level of the widget hierarchy with that selected, move over to here the component parameters option, just choose the plus, add a parameter, and we're just going to call this parameter selected fruits like that. And with the type, we're just going to choose integer. Now this is going to be a list, so just choose list here and hit confirm. So that's now got the component parameter, so our component can now take receipt of that data. But once it's got receipt of that data, we need to then store it locally within inside the actual component itself. And how do we do that? Well, we need to create a component state variable. So choose the component state option there and hit add field. I'm going to give this one a name. So we're going to call this one selected fruits like that. And the type again is going to be an integer, and this is going to be a list as well. So just have that selected, hit confirm. So that's now all ready for us. Now, once they're hooked up, the best thing that we can do now is now set up our action at the very top level to then sort of save and persist those values that are passed into that local state variable. So let's go and do that now. Okay, so let's set up our actions then. Let's move over to the actions up here and click open the action flow editor. And now we need to do a conditional action. So just press add a conditional action. And then we're going to need to do an if condition. So just choose that and say a single condition here. And the first value, we're now going to focus on the actual component parameter itself. So here is the selected fruit. So with that selected, we're going to say available options. And we're going to choose is set and not empty. So just choose that, hit confirm, and we're going to say it's going to be of true here. So we're going to basically say if the values that are passed in are currently set and they're not empty, so it's like we're passing something in here, then what we need to do is we then need to then update the component state and actually set that component state variable to the values that's being passed in. So hit the plus here, hit the add action, just type in here state like that, update component state here, add the fields, and this is the one that we just created, that selected fruits, that local component state variable. Choose the update, and we're going to set the value, and we're just going to choose the value to set, and of course it's going to be the component parameter here and the selected fruits like that. So that's as simple as it comes. We're just simply selecting it and setting it, and that's all that we need to do. So of course, if nothing is passed in here, has nothing inside it at all, no values, then it's going to obviously to go down in this particular direction, and it's not going to do any kind of component state update whatsoever. So just hit close there. That's all now set. Okay, so now what we need to do is we now need to set up our application to actually display the fruits that we've actually got within inside our application state. So the way that we do that is we choose the fruit select row. So just with that selected, we can now move over to the children option up here, and we're going to give our variable name a fruit. So this is going to represent each and every fruit that's come from that list of fruits. Remember, there's 3 of those within inside the application state. Choose the value to where they're coming from, move to application state, and then you see that there is our fruits there. So just choose fruits, hit confirm, hit save there, and then just hit OK here. And you can see now we've got the kind of this ghosted look now, which is representing this is something that is dynamic. Now, one thing that we need to do is we just need to make sure that this is a scrollable row. So just with this selected here, move to scrollable. So it's going to allow us to sort of slide this kind of left and right. So if I were to run this up now, what you would see, obviously we've got one little error that we need to sort out here, but if we were to run this up now, you see that we would then get the fruits now in sort of shown within inside the actual row itself. We just haven't bound the actual sort of characteristics, the properties, should we say, of the actual fruit. So we can do that now. So we can simply just move on to the text here, move up to where it says the text up here, go to the fruit item, choose the available options and say the data structure field. So we're kind of going inside that custom data type now, choose select field, and we're going to choose the name there, hit confirm. And what we can also do here is on the circle image and move down to where it says the actual path here, go to fruit item, choose available options, do data structure field, select field here and choose the photo URL, hit confirm. So that is all set up for us now. Okay, so the reason why that we got this error that's just up here, and that is because our component parameter was set as required. We're going to need to pass in a list actually into this particular component. So go back to the home page here. Now up here, what we need to do is we now need to create a brand new kind of application, a page state variable there to kind of store kind of these selected fruits. So with the home page selected, move up to here and we choose add field here. And we're just going to say here, selected fruit like that. Choose the type, that's going to be of integer here. It's going to be a list. and we just hit confirm. And then what we can now do is we can select the actual action. We can go to the action flow editor. We could do it there actually on the other screen there. We can pass in now the component parameter, which is what it's expecting. So just hit pass. We're going to do selected fruits, and we're going to pull this one here out of the page state variable there. So there's a page state there, and we've got the selected fruits there. Just select that, hit confirm, and that error will now go away because we're now passing the selected fruits in. So remember now what we're going to do very shortly is we're going to call back, we're going to pass those back, we're going to store the values it's selected within inside that page state variable. Okay, so now it's time to put some interactivity into this particular component, and we're going to allow for the option for actually selecting the fruit itself. So when this component loads for the first time, there's going to be no fruits selected by default. So what's going to happen is we're going to tap on each of the fruits, and we're going to put that ID within inside that selected fruits list. Now, if the user selects that fruit again, we're going to want to remove it out of that particular list. So let's now handle that here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the action on the fruit container itself, move over to the action flow editor, open that up here, add a conditional action in, so just choose add conditional and choose the single condition at the top here, select single condition. Now the first value, we just need to select this now. This is going to be our component state and our selected fruit, so just select selected fruits. Now our available options are, does the list contain a particular item? So just choose that one there, and then choose this particular option here. And now we need to now get hold of the ID of the actual fruit itself. So choose fruit item, choose available options here, say the data structure field. So we're now going to go in and get that ID, choose ID here, and just select that and hit confirm. Now, if the list contains this item, so if it contains 1, 2, or 3, hit confirm. We now need to then say, well, if it equals to true, which is what we're going to do here. So if it's already in that particular list, then we need to go down here. Now, of course, if it's already in there, we need to remove it out. And of course, if we go down here and it's not in there, we need to add it in. So how do we do that? We'll press the plus on here, add the action, and we need to go to the state here, go to open update component state, hit the set fields here, do selected fruits, because that's the local component state variable. So we need to go up here on the update type here. We're going to remove from the list here, and the value to remove, just select that. And of course, we're going to go down here to the fruit item. We're going to go to available options, choose a data structure field, and then we're going to grab hold of the ID itself, hit confirm. So we're now going to kind of remove that out. So what we can do now, we can just simply now copy this action. We can go down here over here, and we can paste that action in. And of course, we're going to want to do the reverse. So choose the where it says remove from list, we're going to choose add to list. I'm going to go back down here again. We're going to go back down to the fruit item, go to available options, choose the data structure field, and choose the select value here, and just choose ID there, and just choose confirm. So that is all now nicely set up for us. If I just hit close, that interactivity will now be applied to our particular component. Okay, so next up we need to handle the little check there. We need to kind of determine, is this particular fruit already selected or not? And we just need to simply actually put a conditional visibility on this little check here. So with this selected, move over here, and we've got this conditional option up here. So we're going to kind of do that kind of dynamic check. Are you already in the list or not? So it's very similar to what we kind of just done. So just up here on the conditional, just choose conditions. Choose a single condition on the first value here, just select that. And of course, we're going to go down here to the component state, and we're going to go to the selected fruits, just choose here and say list contains item, just choose that. And then of course here, we just want to move down here to the actual fruit item itself, and just choose the data structure field, and we're going to set the ID like that. Just hit confirm. Just hit confirm there, and we're going to basically say is equal to true. So this is very similar to what we did before. So really, we're just going to show this check if that particular fruit item matches the ID of one that is already in the list that we've actually are tracking with inside that local component state variable. Just hit confirm, and that is quite simply all that we need to do. So let's quickly fire this up. Let's see what happens. We might have made some mistakes along the way, but we'll give it a whirl, and let's see what happens. Okay, so here we are then in test mode. Let's hit the select fruits there. Excellent, there we go. We've got our fruits all kind of being displayed, which is nice. Let's try selecting one. Excellent. Try turning it off. There we go. That's great. We've unselected that one. That's great. Let's just choose that one here and the kiwi. So that is looking pretty good actually. It looks like we're kind of keeping track of those inside the local component state variable. Now, of course, I've got no interactivity in any of these buttons yet. So let's now move on and do that. And this is where we can then start executing those callbacks to return back those selected items back to our parent page for safe storage. And of course, we can then pass those back in again. So let's go and do that now. Okay, so let's now set up that callback that's now going to pass those values back to our home page in this particular example. So what we now need to do is we now need to create another component parameter here. So within inside the actual component itself, just choose the edit option up here, add parameter, and on this one we're going to call the parameter onSelect action callback, and the type here is going to be an action. Just down the bottom here, just choose action, and this is going to have some action parameters. We now need to kind of specify, okay, I'm going to pass some parameters in, what is the type, and I want to send those back. So choose add action parameter here. So I'm just going to call this one selected fruits, like that, with the type here. Let's go to the integer, and of course this is going to be a list of IDs in our particular example. Hit the confirm option, and that is now all created for us. So how do we now sort of invoke that particular parameter? Well, what we do is we go to the confirm fruits option here, move over to the actions, open up the action flow editor, and go to add actions, and up here we just need to do a search for execute callback. Just press that, choose the callback, and we've only got one, which is the one that we just created. Just choose that one here, and of course now this is the parameter that we've just selected. So now all we've got to do is now pick up our local component state variable and pass it in here. So just select that here, go down here to the component state, move down here to selected fruits. So those are the values that we're going to pass back, and that is quite simply all that we need to do on the execute. So once we've done the execute, all we then need to do is then close the actual sort of dialog itself. So choose add action, just do a search for, in fact, close. I've just got it right there. Close a dialog drawer, and that's all that we need to do. Just hit close. There we go. So that's now all in place. What we now need to do is go back to the home page, and we now need to kind of configure up this particular button once more, because here you can see on the right hand side we've now got this kind of callback that we've got. So if I just sort of add in here the pass and choose the actual callback itself, so we've now got that, we can bring up the action flow editor here, and this is where we can add an action in, and this is where we're going to go to the state. We're going to say update page state, because that's the page state variable that we've got here. Choose add fields, and this is the selected fruits on the page itself. Now we're going to want to we want to set that page state variable with the values that's coming back from that particular callback. So with the select update type, we're just going to go to set value, choose the value to set, and now we've got this option available to us called action parameters. Just select that, and here it is, selected fruits. These are the values that is coming back. So choose selected fruits, hit confirm, and that is all that we need to do. So what will happen now, of course, is when we run up our application, we'll select the fruits, the values will be passed back, they'll be stored in the page. We can then press that button again, and any values that we had stored will then be passed back into the component. Everything will be updated in there. We'll get all the ticks against all the ones that we need, and it can just carry on like that. So let's now quickly go back to test mode and try this one out. Okay, so here we are then in test mode. Hit select fruits. There they all are for us. And let's choose the lemon, and let's choose the kiwi, and hit confirm fruits. Okay, so nothing visual there. Hopefully I can press that button again and see that they're already there. Excellent. We've still got the tick there, and we've still got the tick there. That's good. Let's just make a change. Choose maybe just the orange on its own. Take the kiwi out, hit confirm fruits, and then select fruits again. And there is the only one that there is selected. So there we go. So we've got kind of that two-way kind of binding now that's happening between our page state variable and the kind of the component state variable there's actually within inside that particular component. So that is looking pretty good. So there you go. Hopefully you found this example pretty useful. If you would like the more fuller example, then please do pop over to the Academy, where I've got the additional example where we're using custom data types in and out of the actual component itself. But please do check the link in the description to grab yourself a copy of this particular project here. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you found that really, really useful. Please do check out lots of other video content within inside the Academy, and of course within inside my YouTube channel as well. I'm sure there is something. There's loads of FlutterFlow FlutterFlow, that is covered throughout if you are interested in this particular platform. And of course, I cover so much more on YouTube and in the Academy as well. So please do head over to the Academy, because there's a great community there as well, ready to support you and ready to have a good discussion about no code in general. So, and of course, lots more exclusive content there as well. So hopefully I'll see you in the next video.